the words I have to say.
It's a beautiful house.
But they're true.
Would it just be you staying, or
Excuse me?
Mrs. Marlowe?
No.
Until you give your love, there's nothing more that we can do.
Apple from the garden?
Yeah, it was delicious.
No. Mustn't do that. Forbidden fruit.
Oh, God, sorry,
I'm joking.
Oh.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? And this week, I'm Michael.
Kalen.
That was smooth. We're already nailing it. But this week, our movie is the movie Men by Alex Garland.
They finally made a movie about us, Michael.
Yeah, it's about damn time men got some representation. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, I just feel so empowered right now.
Dude, I was punching the air at this representation of men. Well, you kind of have to see the movie to get it. I know this movie, so this movie is by the director Alex Garland, who is a English director, which is very clear in this. His previous films are Ex Machina and Annihilation. You've seen both of those, right?
Yes. Ex Machina, saw that a few years back. It's not real fresh in my mind. But.
Same. Ex Machina, I remember it being really good. It has Oscar Isaac in it, and it's a quality movie, kind of a sci-fi thriller.
Oscar Isaac is in Annihilation too.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And Annihilation, I think I personally hold in a little bit higher regard. It's a movie that I think will be interesting if we ever do it on this podcast in the induction, because I thought it's like a pretty good to okay movie for like 2/3 of it,
Yeah.
3/4, and then like the last like 20 minutes or so.
It's just perfect sci-fi. Like,
it just sticks with you. Like, that's one of those things that you'll watch and you'll kind of like never forget. Like, I wish I could watch it for the first time again.
yeah. We should definitely do an episode on that movie.
That's a great movie. So this is his third movie. It's called Men. It stars Rory Kinnear, who is playing just about every man.
His name is Jeffrey. I think his first persona is named Jeffrey, and there's no like distinguishing names in the other ones really.
No,
but
it's just like the policeman, the bartender,
the
etc.,
priest,
etc.
the boy, and
Yeah. And the other main star is Jesse Buckley. And just a quick synopsis, because I imagine not a lot of people have seen this. Jesse Buckley was a part of a abusive relationship with Papa Asidu.
yeah, he's a good actor. He was in this another British show called Gangs of London. It's on AMC Plus, and if you haven't heard of that, you should check that out.
That's the one with the crazy shootouts, right?
Yeah, yep. It's directed by the guy who made the Raid movies. Pretty good. So
she's in an abusive relationship. They have a fight. He hits her. She kicks him out. And he decides to, and it's not really clear whether he killed himself on purpose or he was trying to climb down from the balcony, she says in a story, whether he's trying to climb down from the balcony to their balcony.
yeah,
But he ends up falling and dying.
yeah.
And
Pretty heavy stuff.
yeah, so then she decides she wants to make take a holiday away, and she goes to this very quaint.
Is she taking a holiday or is she moving to that place? Because I know it was like Jeffrey was like the landlord. I don't know if she was staying there permanently or.
I want to say they said it was like 2 weeks. Like the way they talk about it, I think it's just like a vacation.
Okay.
Like she's just getting away from after having all,
Sure.
all this tragedy happen. I think she was just trying to get away. And everybody in town is played by Rory Kinnear, including Jeffrey, the landlord.
Yeah, there's only 3 like actors in this. Well, I mean, there's a 4th one, her friend,
who she FaceTimes with a bit and shows up at the end.
Yeah. But other than that, it's just her and Rory Kinnear.
It's quite different vibe than like, what is his name? Like Lil Rel in Get Out, the FaceTime friend in Get Out.
Yeah.
Completely different vibe, but
Yeah.
it was a similar
Similar concept.
similar arc where they just show up at the end and they FaceTime a few times in the middle. And
Yeah, I actually did get some Jordan Peele vibes from this film, especially with like the art style and the lighting and stuff.
yeah. It's I don't know. I guess we should go to our opening thoughts. Like I would say I like this. I can see like why like on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's sitting at around like 78-9% critic review.
I think it's even lower than that.
Whatever it is, it's like critic review is like 60-70%, and then audience review is like 35%,
Yeah.
40%. Like
Yeah.
audiences are a little turned off by this.
Well, because here's the thing. It's like if you look at any of the promotional stuff for this, it's painted as like a horror film, which it has horror elements to it, but it's not. I wouldn't say technically it's horror. It's more so a social commentary. There's just a lot of different themes to this film, and it all kind of centers on one thing and branches off. But I wouldn't consider this horror.
I don't know. I think it's pretty horrific, especially what happens towards the end. We'll spoil that maybe a
Okay.
little later, but like I think it's effectively tense. Alex Garland's movies really like are very tense. It's really beautifully shot. I love the English countryside is kind of a
Yeah.
beautiful place. But like this would be a weird one. Like I think it's a good movie. I think Kaylin's first message to me was, "What the fuck did you make me watch?"
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean it wasn't a good film. I guess I'll get into my thoughts a little bit. I thought it was really well made. I think it was a little convoluted in some areas. I also think it was a little too on the nose as far as like thematically. But it's masterfully shot. It's gorgeous to look at.
and acted.
Especially Rory Kinnear. He's fantastic in this, and I've seen him in a few other things before. I know my mom and dad, they really love these old, or not old, but they're British like sitcoms, and he's in a few of those. He's a good actor, and he's able to play like charming characters, but also like he can play villains and be very unsettling sometimes. So
This is one of those roles where, like, you know, a true actor, a true thespian is like, I want this role because
Yeah.
he gets to do everything.
that's every A24 movie ever.
Yeah. Yeah, he just gets to have so much range and play, you know, every character in town, from the creepy vicar, the pastor, to the little boy who just wants to play hide and seek.
Yeah.
You dumb bitch, he says. It's I don't know. I think before we get into spoilers, I just want to say, do we recommend? And it's like tough. I'd say it's a good movie. I would recommend it. But if you're not somebody that can deal with like A, like body horror, and B, like something that's not very literal,
Yeah.
this is like a fantasy. This is like a storybook, like a horrible storybook.
Yes. It almost takes a few watches to actually probably get the point across. I've only seen this once, and I watched it yesterday. I still have a lot of different questions and theories on certain things, but I think the overall narrative is it's there, you know? But I could see the regular audience going into this and just being like, what the fuck was that?
I think I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on a lot of it, but the very end I have questions about, and
Okay.
like what happened there.
Okay.
But I think for the most part, anyway. So I would recommend. I think it's a good movie, but I also think it's only going to appeal and like hit for certain people.
Right.
That's why the audience score is like 40%. It's pretty weird. frankly.
Teenagers going to watch this shit are going to be like, where is the Annabelle doll?
I'm just gonna say, like, if for like, you know, if I was like in my teenage days when you're like picking a horror movie to just like not watch and make out in the theater too, this
Yeah.
is not the choice.
No, I think you're going to be pretty flaccid watching this.
Things will not be hot. Oh man. So shall we get into the performance test?
Yeah.
It was the performance of a lifetime!
The performance test is where we talk about our favorite performances, actors, characters, and moments. And luckily, this is easy because it's a small cast, and also I think this is one of the parts where it really shines.
Yeah.
Rory Kinnear is impeccable. From the first person that you meet, which is Jeffrey, who's like a very nice. It's funny. She says on the phone to her friend, she's like, he's this very specific type of like countryside Englishman.
Yeah.
Who's like, yeah. He's like friendly, but he's a little weird. But he's not like menacing, but he's like a little awkward.
Yeah, he's a little awkward. It kind of makes her uncomfortable a couple times. I know he mentions like, for the women, be careful what you flush or whatever. Like he's just really open about.
Yeah, he's very direct.
Yeah.
And I love the line, which is in the trailer, where she's like, "Oh, is that apple from the tree?" He's like, "Tut tut tut, must not, forbidden fruit." And she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "I'm just messing with you." Like,
yeah,
there's these little hints that like maybe he's sketchy, but he's
right.
But he's the nice one. As if of all the men that she meets in this horror show town, he's the kindest one, frankly.
Yeah.
But he also plays a very creepy and shitty like pastor. They call it a vicar.
Yeah, that guy made me very uncomfortable
from the whole time. Like basically they sit down and they have a whole chat about her husband killing himself or dying, his death, and like he slowly twists it to be like, well, why did you have to ask yourself why you drove him to do that.
Right. Why didn't you give him time to explain himself?
Why didn't you let him apologize?
And, men hit women all the time. And, he's just the shittiest guy. And you could see this being like a real person, you know what I mean? Especially somebody who's, there's always those stories about the priest or something, and there's always an ulterior motive behind the things that they say and things that they do. And at one point he puts his hand on her knee or on her leg and kind of is like, I don't know if he's caressing her, but it wasn't appropriate.
He's saying fucked up things and then treating her like he's like he's what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's being empathetic and that he's
right.
like actually helping, and he's like puts his hand on her knee like I'm here for you, while he's saying like maybe you should consider why your husband jumped off and why you did that.
Right.
So he's weird. She plays a little boy that is also hanging out of the church, and he's like, I want to play hide and seek with you.
And the CGI was terrible on
this
his face.
CGI was terrible, but I think it doesn't bother me as much because this movie does not exist in reality.
Right. And it was kind of like it had that uncanny valley effect, which made it even more uncomfortable, where it's like there's something really off about this. And obviously it's still his face and he still looks like a 45-year-old man, but still, like, it was effective in the visual department. So.
And I think moving along, Jessie Buckley.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I haven't seen her in anything else.
Yeah, I haven't seen much. I haven't seen anything with her. I'm assuming these are all like English actors that are in lots of like English BBC shows and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know. I think she's she has to do a lot of high intensity emoting through it, and she does it well. But it's also like the part where she's exploring the countryside before that goes left is kind of like you really like see the weight lift off her, you know? As it starts. Like, this is what she was hoping for. She was hoping to get away and just be able to kind of relax and enjoy nature, and that she doesn't get very long to actually do that. But in that moment, she's also like very believable and very like you connect with her and empathize with her.
And you feel for her, especially in the scenes where her and her husband are arguing, and it's just you feel the pain that she's going through, and you can really see it on her face, like you were saying. Like the way she emotes is very convincing, and throughout the whole movie, she's got to carry this like emotional trauma on top of that, all this terrible and horrifying shit that's happening to her, and you could just feel every single scene and moment that she's in, and that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, the scenes where with her and her husband, which we come back to a few times, we like don't see the whole fight all at once. Is so well written and acted, the way that like you've seen it before, I'm sure, or if you know the type, like where the husband's like, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself, and that'll be on you. And she's like, no, that won't be on me. You
make your own decisions.
You make your own decisions. He's like, no, you will have to live with it. Okay. And like, she's like, oh my bad. You're fine. Just truly trapped. Like, you could feel the walls shutting in around her, like emotionally, and just the the way that all went down.
Yeah, it was very real, very uncomfortable. It's great.
This movie's not a good time.
No, it's not. I mean, I guess you could say there was some type of happy ending.
Yeah, but it's emotionally draining and stressful to watch, which
Absolutely.
I think means it's effective because you're not supposed to walk away from this movie feeling good. But it's everybody's great, but those are like the main three that really get any time. There's the friend on the phone. She's fine, but they don't really do a lot.
She's just emotional support. Just somebody, an outside person she can talk to and explain all the crazy shit that's going on or how she feels and this and that. Yeah, it's fine.
Shall we move on to It's an Art Bro?
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
It's an Art Bro is where we talk about the specifics on the filmmaking process. We're talking sets, effects, lighting, framing, soundtrack, etc. Do you have anything to start with that?
I have a lot to say about the art style, and I guess we can kind of get into some themes too that I've noticed.
It's probably the part to this is the area the best to discuss it.
Okay, so there's a lot of bright colors, but it's mainly red and green. And most of the shots where you see a red hue is indoors, or usually during a scene where there's violence, some type of violence happening. All the green is outside. It's very vibrant. I kind of saw that as Garden of Eden-esque, where she's like, it's adventure. I mean, signifying life and her independence as a woman.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it. And every shot where she's indoors, it's oppressive. And there's usually a man indoors, and she has some type of conversation with, or
And I think importantly, thematically, as she runs into these various men around town, and like her husband said in their fight, when he says, "I'm gonna kill myself and it's gonna be on you," like all these men find a way to have like conflict or anger towards her, and it's all because, and it's never really her fault. It's them, like they're mad at her for either like, you know, making her own decisions, like having agency, or they're mad at her for like simply existing.
yeah.
Which is like, these are the themes. Hello, like toxic masculinity, and like the way like the pastor, when he meets her in the house during the end, and he's like, you've like, you know, I've just been thinking about you, and I think when I've been thinking about you, I've decided that you're like an expert sexually. I forget exactly what he says, but you're like, and then he's like, look at what you do to me, you, and then he like bends over and he's reaching towards the lady regions, and he's like the slit, the cave, and it's like, oh, please stop talking. Like,
It makes you want to go to church.
I need to bathe in holy water after this.
You know, I found it interesting because the priest mentions Agamemnon, which is the king in the story of the Trojan War, the Trojan horse. Basically, that story is these men go to war for a woman. But yeah, there's like a lot of subtle themes to and overarching stories and narratives that can fit with this narrative. So Agamemnon, or the story of Helen of Troy, a lot of biblical overtones, especially like the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, the forbidden fruit. Also, when the husband falls and his wounds are,
It's slit through the
it's
arms.
the crucifixion of Christ, or it's supposed to signify that. And basically what I've taken from that is the religious constraints on marriage, and also falls in line with the priest too, because the priest is the one that consummates the marriage, and he's the one that's supposed to be he's the one that is supposed to be your guide through this religious venture. I don't know. This stuff is this is still pretty fresh in my mind, and so it's kind of hard to like piece it all together. But there's so many different aspects to this that are interesting, but at the same time a little on the nose, where it's like Okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Like, what is the overarching theme? Like,
So I think, I'd say oftentimes it's not subtle. I think there are subtle things in it. Like, I'm not entirely sure, like, what the leaf-faced man, what that has to do with it. And he's, like, in the church. He's on on the, what do you call it, the dais, or the, where the pastor preaches?
yeah, he's on
that. The man that's in the woods, his face is on it. So I don't really know what that means, but I think the overall, like, overarching, like, easy to grasp, maybe not easy to grasp, but it's like kind of hitting you in the face, is like all men are the same.
Yeah.
Or at least that, like, they share these specific traits, which are like, even the nicest one, Jeffrey's occasionally like demeaning and patronizing towards her.
Yeah, but he's like he's supposed to be like the white knight character, where it's like he saves the damsel in distress kind of guy.
He says it.
Yeah, he does say that at the end. But he's, it's just like subtle things where it's like he wanted to take the bags in for her, or he wanted to buy her a drink, and he kept insisting, and she was like, no, I got it. He's like, no, I got it. Like, basically he won't let her have any type of independence.
Mm-hmm. And he like steps in on her agency, and like the little boy gets mad at her for having agency, for not playing the hide and go seek game when he asked. And it's like, and then he walks away and he's like, you stupid bitch. And it's like,
and the priest tried to like gaslight her, and that to me kind of reminded me of like the story of Adam and Eve. Like, did Eve cause Adam to sin, kind of thing? Did she entice him with the forbidden fruit?
Like, we've heard people read the Adam and Eve story as blame the woman.
Right, and that's those toxic aspects of religion, and like these religious figures that are supposed to be here to guide us, kind of thing. And and they're
like,
usually men.
The policeman that, like, so there's a man in the woods that's butt naked that turns out to be fucking, I don't know, he's like a weird, like, what creature of the woods that's got leaves growing out of his face, and things really go left in the last 15 minutes. But
can I kind of try to interpret what he is? I kind of saw it as like, well, especially towards the end, the idea of fertility and the idea of renewal, creating something new out of decay. You see the scene with the deer, and one of those, the seeds from the whatever
dandelion seed.
The dandelion seed goes into the decaying deer's eye, and then also like he blew those dandelion seeds into her face, and it went into her, and that idea of like renewal, and then also at the end where it's like she kind of gets some type of closure and is able to hopefully renew her life or find some type of purpose afterwards.
Yeah, so at the very end, let's just talk about it, because it's the weirdest part of the movie. All the various men like basically turn on her and are taking turns attacking her, or really it's all the same man, as we see, because he gets slit down, like down his hand, so his hand's like split in two.
It's the same wound as
and
her husband.
Every guy that she speaks to, one time it's the vicar, one time it's the little boy, eventually it's Jeffrey and the man in the woods. They all are the same person, and then he gets chased. She hits Jeffrey. She tries to escape in her car. She hits Jeffrey. Jeffrey takes the car and is trying to run her over. He crashes. And he comes out, and he's just like bloated and disgusting. And he like falls over, and he just starts giving birth to another version of the man. Which I think each time it's like, one time it's the vicar, one time I think it
was the boy,
one time it's Jeffrey again, I think, and then eventually it's her dead husband.
Yeah.
And I think my interpretation of that was that like men pass down these toxic traits.
Wow. Yeah.
That like not only are men all the same, which I think is a little like obviously like not entirely true, but it's a thinker, it's the point, you know. But like that each of these men will bequeath these toxic traits to the next man and to the next man. And, you know, if it's not literally like parentage, it's your friends, it's your classmates, it's your brothers, it's whatever, you know, we give them to each other. And then we also are all like the men are all the same. They all will, you know, there's a silent agreement there.
Yeah.
Don't be Captain Save-A-Ho.
Right.
Don't be whatever, you know, like, and I think that's what the point of like the birth, which happens like 4 times and gets weirder and weirder each time.
Yeah. I think it also goes in line with like just the roles of women in general, like especially like with religion. What are the woman's roles in the faith? And it's like if you read old texts, I mean, we've been in the church before, and it's like women don't really have a role besides being the one who supports the husband, the one who gives birth to all the children, the one who stays in the house.
You can teach children's church, but you can't be at the pulpit.
Right. So there's no real role of leadership. There's no role for the woman to be independent and create her own lane and to inspire other women to do the same.
And at the end, like, her only saving grace is when her fellow woman arrives, it seems, and is there to like really support her. And she's her support through the whole movie, but she just, you know, 4 hour drive away. So
yeah,
there's a lot going on with the themes. And
Can I talk about my favorite scene real quick?
Go for it.
And another theme that goes with it. The scene in the tunnel.
Yeah.
This is my favorite scene of the movie.
Can I pause for 1 second?
Yes.
That turns into a song when she starts doing the
Yep.
and it echoes. And I just want to say Alex Garland always has amazing soundtracks.
Yes.
And they always like really amplify the emotion and they play into the themes.
They're very hauntingly eerie. And this scene in general, it was absolutely terrifying. Just kind of putting yourself in her shoes in that moment. I never saw anything in this film as literal. It was something that was playing in her conscience and cognitively. But the scene, she goes into a tunnel and she's walking through the woods. She's going on a walk. It's just this beautiful landscape, and she's in the woods. Everything is green and vibrant, and then the contrast of this pitch pure darkness in the tunnel and a light at the end. And she goes in, she starts echoing, or she starts like singing a little bit, and it's echoing, and it's creating creating something sonically, like some type of song.
I think I just put something together. What do we say? Like the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Death.
Right.
The man runs back to her.
Yeah.
To haunt her.
Oh, yeah.
Like her dead husband. Mind blown.
I also thought of this as like a siren call, where it's like the sirens lure men to their death, and they lure these sailors to wreck. And when she started calling, the man is like almost in a trance, gets up and just goes after her. And also like your theme of, you know, the men, they kind of like, or it could be like too, where like a woman's at a bar and, you know, she's just there and she's having fun with her friends, and a man sees that automatically. He's like, well, I'm gonna go get into that kind of thing. Or like you could put that in many different
they never
situations.
really do that. I'm glad they never really did the like.
That's what I thought was gonna happen at the bar.
The pastor is like very creepy, but they never do the like kind of like cliche like creepy guy at the bar always getting too handsy. Oh, get off me type of deal, you know?
Right. Yeah, that was my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh, the bar scene?
The
tunnel scene.
The tunnel scene. It was beautifully shot. That was an incredible scene.
And then it turns into this soundtrack, and it's like there's a lot of like operatic, like creepy vocals going through all this, and it's just Alex Garland really knows how to use music to like amplify because you're looking at beautiful stuff, especially in that scene. Like you're looking at a beautiful English countryside that looks very nice, but then as soon as like the music kicks in and things start getting creepy, like it switches.
Yeah, things aren't so nice anymore.
The beautiful countryside is now like a trap that's she can't escape. Like
Yeah.
she's lost in the woods and she can't figure out how to escape. And there's this freaky man chasing her.
I didn't understand what the door was supposed to represent. You know, the big like silo door in the woods that she kind of runs up to, and then that appears later on in the film as well. I didn't really understand what that was supposed to mean, but
Me neither.
yeah.
But like this, the soundtrack's amazing, and one of my favorite things about Annihilation is, which I don't think I picked up on, but I heard about, and then I picked up on the second time I watched it, is that in Annihilation, it's like there's one primary theme, and Annihilation is about like a zone, like an alien thing crashes, and there's a zone that's like warping and changing everything in it. The soundtrack warps and changes throughout it, and it's the same basic theme until by the end it's that synth that's going along with the dancing figure.
So good.
And it's just spine tingling.
You can feel the vibrations through your body.
Like there's some sounds that just like stick with you.
Yeah.
I remember it's like that sound combined with those visuals stick with me forever. Or like when I watch The Lighthouse, the very first time you hear the lighthouse siren, which is like the first thing you hear.
I'm getting
sounds like a dang like it sounds like the almost like the alert on the Star Destroyer in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Just I was like, oh, I'm gonna love this movie from the first sound.
Yeah.
And Alex Garland is, well, I'm sure there's an actual
the music in just film in general really sets up the tone. And it's like music can make or break any type of media. I just think of, we always talk about this, Kenobi. Kenobi could have been better if the music was decent.
Like Star Wars has so many great themes. How about use some of them?
Yeah. I could think of like a number of, even like certain Marvel movies, because you know, like the Avengers has that score that's like iconic now.
Yeah.
And then there's other Marvel properties that are lacking in that area as well, and just it doesn't sell it to you, and that's the importance of music.
Or alternatively, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Sets the tone. Now that's
Yeah.
like a different kind of soundtrack. That's all,
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that's all like licensed music. That's all like old tunes, but it puts you right in the mood.
Oh,
And,
right. Yeah. That compared to Suicide Squad.
Yes.
That
Where
tried
it's
to
just
do
like,
the same thing.
Yes, but it's edited by Trailer House, and it's just like needle drop, needle drop, needle drop, needle drop. Let's go.
They had that Kanye, or Power by Kanye, I think. It just the most random scene. It's like, whatever.
It was like Seven Nation Army.
Such crap.
Yeah, all the like most cliche songs you could ever think of. I loved at the beginning, so like it's just one of the things I love in a movie is when you can set up things and knock them down, and when immediately once she arrives at the cottage, you get a tour, which I think is key for later when it's basically she's like fighting off a home invasion of all these different versions of this man. Like, you know, the geography, you're set. Everybody understands where we're going. We've seen all the rooms. We literally took 5 minutes of this movie to just show you the house.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And a lot of movies will skimp on that. They'll say that's not necessary. Why are we spending all that time with that? We get it. It's a house. But I think it's deeper than that. And it aids the suspense and the just tension. Okay. Shall we move on?
Yes.
To Let the Hate Flow Through You.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
Let the Hate Flow Through You is where we air out our annoyances and our complaints, our problems with this movie. I mean, like, I have not a lot of annoyances and complaints, but I can imagine a lot of people, like you sent the message, are gonna will watch this movie and be like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right.
And they might walk away from it like, I didn't get anything from that. It was just weird and I'm confused. And I think that's I think that's valid. I'm not one of those people that'd be like, oh, hoity-toity, you just are not, connecting with the deeper themes. Why
Yeah,
don't
you're
you-
not smart enough. You don't. Yeah.
A true film auteur, like a real film snob would understand. Tut, you basic bitch. Like, I could completely understand most people watching this movie and being like, why?
Yeah.
Why any of that?
And like the last 20 minutes, I thought was a little over the top. I don't think he needed to give birth 4 fucking times.
Yeah.
For the message to be sent across. It was a little excessive.
And when she sits down, so at the end, she gives birth, and eventually it's her dead husband, and she just sits next to him, and he's like, "Look at me. I'm split down the arm. He's like, I'm a mess." And she's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I want you to love me."
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, we don't get any more resolution than that.
No.
Which I think I kind of have a problem with it, but I also think that maybe there's stuff that I missed, and also that, like, in this storybook, like, universe that we're in right now, like, we can actually just leave it there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's not like one of those movies where there's going to be a sequel and you get all the answers and stuff, and that's okay for this type of film.
And I think maybe for the people that will be like, "Well, this movie just hates men," maybe that's the bit of understanding and the bit of, like, actually extending the olive branch to all these men who are various ways of disgusting and bad, but that, like, at their core, like, I just want you to love me. Like,
yeah,
I am seeking you and a connection with you. Now, they had a toxic connection, and it's her right also to say, "I'm not with it." Like, I half expected her to, like, just slash his throat and that be the end of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I expected some, like, blood spill, like, like, no, fuck you. Like, you don't deserve to come back. So I'm not exactly sure what it's saying there, but I don't know. I'm torn on whether I'm glad he left it there or if I needed something else to feel resolution.
Right. I thought the way it ended too, with just kind of like her friend just showing up, and, like, I mean, I saw that as her just finally getting closure. I mean, it was like the first time she smiles throughout the whole movie
since, like, her walk in the garden goes left.
Yeah, and, like, she's outside and she is free again, and I think that's powerful in itself. I also kind of I enjoy the themes of, like, the old way of thinking, where it's like you're in this old town, and, you know, there's this old religious hierarchy, and there's all these, like, classical versions of men, and it's like that version of humanity was not meant for women. And now we're at the point where it's like, okay, women can have their own independence. They're still fighting for their rights. It's the same with race, but it's like this old way of thinking is dying, and we have to kill it, basically, for there to be any real type of change. And if you look at it from that aspect, I think it can be powerful as well, powerful narrative. And yeah, I think really I don't really have too many complaints. I mean, I guess the question is this pretentious crap?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people walking by would be like, yeah, that movie crawled up his own ass, which is my way to describe anything I find too pretentious.
Right.
I don't think this quite crawled up its own ass. It's got the air of something that crawled up its own ass. It bent over backwards a little bit and approached its asshole, but it, like, never.
I think it would be pretentious if they had to explain every single thing.
Yeah.
And being vague, I think that it works.
And I think just on a visceral, like just the level of, am I tense in this suspense horror movie? I am. Am I scared? I am. So it's, like, still effective in that way, even if we're, like, literally confused. If you're literally confused about the plot, or why are all these men the same men, or whatever, like, it's still effective in that aspect. So the other question is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother! I had a little baby brother! And he was perfect! Perfect in every way!
And I'm torn.
I would say I'm a little torn too. I don't think I would call it a perfect movie.
So I have a proposition. We're gonna have to form a second list, and it's called Perfect Movie Purgatory. So the ones that were really like, what about that?
Iffy about, we'll put it in that.
Yeah. Perfect Movie Purgatory. We'll come back sometime, do a purgatory episode.
Okay.
Sift through our Perfect Movie Purgatory list.
Before we send them to hell.
Before we send them to hell or up to heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Well, I think this one's going to be in Perfect Movie Purgatory. I think it's really good. I think it's worth a watch.
I think it's worth a watch if you are open-minded to seeing something different and not understanding it completely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like you were saying, people are going to look at this and be like, what the fuck, without even giving it a chance. They'll probably watch 10 minutes before they get bored. And I say, like, really, like, pay attention to the visuals. And this is, like, another thing with, like, any type of, especially horror. Because Jordan Peele movies as well, they don't just throw everything at you and explain everything. It's all in the visuals and in the dialogue, and it's all really about the tension it gives and stuff, especially with these types of horror films. And honestly, I mean, these are my personal favorite types of horror.
Yeah, I prefer a
existential horror.
Yeah, like a thinker and a suspenseful, like thoughtful thing over like Bump in the Night, Scary Ghost, Sinister 2 yeah. type of shit, which is fun in its own right. Like
those movies are fine.
Those are fine to watch, especially like you got a lady over, or like you're going
to a packed theater,
or you're having a party where we're watching fun horror movies. Like I couldn't invite 12 people over here and put this movie on.
Oh no, hell no.
That would go.
I mean, unless they're all just real
film heads, but like otherwise it's gonna go left. People are gonna be like, "What the hell is this? I'm so bored."
I think the most fun we've had at a movie theater is we watched The Conjuring 2, I think. And everybody was just so into it, and there was just a lot of crowd reaction and stuff, and that was a good time. The movie wasn't particularly good, but
my favorite was Get Out. I saw Get Out in a packed theater.
Okay.
Not with you, but that was everybody yelling at the right times, reacting. Everybody erupted in applause when Lil Rel shows up.
Right.
It's
there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
I know films like this can be very oppressive.
Yeah.
Very like, damn, I feel fucking depressed.
or like if you're going through or have had an abusive relationship recently,
it'd
like
be a
this
hard watch.
Be very triggering. And it doesn't have like have you ever seen Midsummer?
No, I haven't yet.
Well, Midsummer I think could be triggering in the same way, but it's also
they have those types of things.
Cathartic.
Okay.
Like the revenge that she doesn't get in this necessarily that you see.
She gets in Midsummer.
Midsummer, yeah.
Okay. Also an A24 film.
Yeah, A24 called for always 24 hours a day being fucking film snobbery.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful visuals.
They are good movies generally. I know some people that are like, I'm A24 stans, which is interesting to me. I don't know if I can stand like a what do you call it?
There's a lot of A24
production company.
There's a lot of A24 crap too that people forget about. It's not all gems. They have a few every year, but yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up, I made this list and I forgot to do it. So I'm making up alternate titles for our podcast and only have a couple.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, alternate titles. We could change it to Name That Movie because of all the times we just list movies like we just did just now. Remember that movie? Hey, remember that movie? All right. Laying the groundwork for our future cancellation. Already done that a couple times.
We're gonna have to go through and delete a bunch of episodes
we're gonna have
if we ever blow up.
Yeah, we're gonna have our Joe Rogan like moment where they're like, they said what?
The compilation of us saying the N-word.
Kaylin, you get to say it.
It's true.
What's this guy's name again? That's the title. Because we're constantly like, this guy, especially last episode, because there's so many fucking people in Lord of the Rings.
I'm terrible with names, man. I can't help it.
Truly. I can know you for years, and one day I'll need to pull your name out of my brain, and it'll be like...
I'm good with faces. I'm not good with names.
Same. All right. This is 2 guys, 1 pod. Gay!
Really gonna get canceled
after that famous, the famous video where the girls eat each other's poop.
Oh,
do you get it now?
The biggest video of 2007 or whatever. The dawn of the internet. I think that shit was on YouTube at one point.
I'm pretty sure it was uploaded in 144p. Download it and play it on your fucking reel player
on your Razer flip phone.
Hey, bro, let me show you a video.
That crispy 10 FPS. Why are these bitches in 8-bit?
This shit looks like Mario. Oh, God.
We're pretty excited for the next month, though. We're going to be we have a theme for October. We're going to be doing all horror films.
True.
Classic horror films. Really excited about that. Should be fun.
And before October, we're trying to clean up some of our 2022 movies that we missed. So I believe our next episode will be Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
Which is by, I'm forgetting the name of the director, but it's the guy that did, what's that guy's name? See? See what I'm doing now? He did Kung Fu Hustle.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember his name, but
That
I watched that movie recently, and we need to add that to the list. Kung Fu Hustle.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
You need to watch Kung Fu
probably
Hustle.
should.
You would love Kung Fu Hustle, I think. But anyways, so coming soon, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Thank you for listening.
Maybe we'll try to do different themes every month of like films. We have a lot of stuff on the list, so
yeah, we got Halloween, October theme. November is gonna be No Good Movie November.
Yeah, so look forward to that.
Look forward to some trash.
December Christmas movies,
and then brand new year. Maybe we'll have to catch up on the rest of 2022 or something.
Yeah.
Or fuck you, it's January.
Fuck you, it's January! That's right, Jay. When it comes to movies, fuck you, it's January is the most magical time of the year.
That's right, Mike. Fuck you, it's January is the month that all the studios release their movies that are obviously too good for the end of the year Oscar season.
Also known as when studios dump all their garbage on your face.
Well, we just review all the shitty January movies.
Review like the Resident Evil series or something.
Or like, what's the other one that's like Resident Evil?
Just a name.
Underworld.
Okay. Let's name this movie. Name the movies that were probably released in January. Gods of Egypt.
A Dog's Tale or something like that. With some actor from the early 2000s.
Remember Planes? It's not cars. It's planes.
Oh God, was that a Pixar film?
I think so, or like Disney, like B-Team type of deal.
We got a lot of different stuff we could
cover. There's plenty of bad movies.
So bear
out there.
with us, please.
All right. Well, bless y'all for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.